we witness a pair of uncovered feet trekking through a blinding, relentless snowstorm. The traveler is Prophet Loon, a blonde woman whose features are obscured by shadow. She is clad in a dark cloak over a white gown, her wrists weighed down by massive iron chains. She marches with stoic bravery toward the execution grounds to meet her end. 3 of her devotees, draped in ivory cloaks, collapse into the frigid drifts, weeping and reaching out to her in total despair. Loon halts and informs them that, according to the ancient scriptures, the sheep will scatter once the shepherd is struck. She issues a somber warning that every one of them will eventually desert her. A young disciple, destined to one day become the Pope, clutches his chest in agony. He pledges that even if the rest of the world leaves her side, he shall never depart. Loon responds to this vow with a chilling prophecy. Before the morning rooster crows, he will deny even knowing her 3 times. The execution commences, and Prophet Loon is brutally impaled by several heavy spears. She perishes bound to a massive wooden crucifix in the snow, her form riddled with weapons. Armored sentries stand guard over the site while the young disciple watches, paralyzed by shock and grief. He gazes up at her lifeless silhouette, frozen in horror. Suddenly, 2 hulking, armored executioners turn toward him. Crossing their spears before him, they demand to know if he is an associate of the crucified sinner. Terrified by the cold steel pressing near his face, the boy breaks into a sweat and frantically denies any connection to her. He turns away, huddling into himself and shrinking back in cowardice, but his deception is cut short when a servant girl points a finger at him. She informs the guards that she distinctly remembers him constantly begging the sinner for instruction and performing her errands. The young disciple vehemently rejects the claim, swearing once again that he has no concept of who the woman is. Soon, a larger contingent of armed guards surrounds him. They intimidate the hooded youth, asserting that his specific accent identifies him as one of her followers. Crushed by overwhelming terror, the disciple falls to his knees in the freezing slush. Tears track down his face as he desperately hurls curses and oaths at the soldiers. He screams his third and final denial, insisting he has no knowledge of her while shouting beneath the prophet's blood-stained body. At that moment, a rooster crows, fulfilling her divine prophecy. Back in the present day, within the shattered stadium, Dolores and Vikir, disguised as the night hound, stand before a gargantuan, horrifying demon. This entity is the same monster that decimated the Academy and triggered the Colosseum massacre in the original timeline. Its name is Decius, the 5th demon king of the 10 elite corpses, recognized as an immortal calamity and the fundamental enemy of mankind. Its name translates to worthless Medusa, and it swivels its glowing crimson eye toward Vicir, detecting the pungent aroma of demon blood on him. The creature points a jagged, clawed finger at Vicir. It inquires if he is the night hound who slaughtered its comrades. Feigning surprise at finding him there, and glaring from behind his mask, Vicir realizes the revolting stench emanating from Headmaster Winston was actually the aura of this demon. He reflects on his previous life and notes that Decius was supposed to manifest 6 months later than this. However, Vicir understands he cannot lose time debating the shifts in the timeline. Now, his blade thrums with crimson energy as he steps in front of Dolores to shield her. He readies his strike, committed to halting the demon before it can harness its full potential, focusing his glowing red gaze. Vicir scrutinizes his foe with precision. He can clearly perceive the soul-level connection between Headmaster Winston and Decius, a bond similar to what he witnessed with Camus and Sarah. Before Vicir lunges forward, his sword ignites with red light as he executes the Baskerville family's 7th technique during his charge. The demon muses that its weaker, past self might have been easily dispatched by such an assault, but the massive Decius pulls back its fist, its limbs surging with azure energy. The lightning-fast counterattack catches the warrior completely off guard. The demon strikes, discharging a concentrated beam of blue energy that blasts Vicir backward with immense force. The killer coughs up blood, stunned by the sheer magnitude of the monster's power. He slams into a stone partition and collapses into the debris. The demon stalks closer, declaring that Vicir's strength is no longer sufficient to challenge it. Grinning with rows of jagged teeth, Decius taunts him, asserting that his current power is useless. Eager to deliver the final blow, the demon vaults high into the air and plunges its fist down for a localized shockwave. Despite the imminent peril, the killer's demeanor remains composed behind his mask as he prepares his weapon. Just before the impact, a crimson magical shield inscribed with glowing runes manifests before him, accompanied by a peculiar voice. The barrier is Decarbia. The sentient pendant asks if it has arrived too late, and the killer calmly notes that its timing was perfect. Decius recognizes the shield as the seventh corpse and mocks it, asking where its dignity went, and why it is playing the role of an obedient pet for a human. Staring back with its solitary eye, Decarbia remarks that Decius remains as abrasive as ever. However, Decarbia appears visibly agitated and asks why Decius feels fundamentally different. As blue mana swirls around the beast, Decarbia questions if it is sensing the influence of the Marquis of Disharmony radiating from the creature. Nearby, Dolores stands amidst the wreckage. Shattered by the unfolding chaos, she softly calls out to Vikir by his alias, realizing she has been isolated from him. Her fear soon transitions into a sense of purpose. She determines that she cannot remain a bystander and must contribute whatever help she can. Dolores turns toward Headmaster Winston, staring at the pulsating purple demon heart fused into his chest. She approaches him, declaring that he is no longer the mentor she once respected. She asks what falsehoods the demon employed to twist his mind. Clenching her hand, she firmly maintains that demons are the personification of evil and the antithesis of justice. As she draws nearer, she pleads with him, explaining that these creatures desire only the annihilation of the human race. She begs him to sever the contract before the world is decimated, hoping a shred of his humanity survives. Winston glances over his shoulder, exposing one glowing red eye alongside one human eye. He answers coldly, stating that his personal world became a barren wasteland long before he ever encountered the monster. As Decius towers behind him, Winston explains that the demon was the only entity that truly grasped his suffering and offered him guidance. Looking at her with his mismatched gaze, Winston asserts that the concepts of evil demons and good humans are entirely trivial to him. Gripping his chest in a fit of rage, he argues that the opposite of justice is not necessarily evil, but merely a conflicting form of justice. Staring with his radiant red eye, he proclaims that the justice he seeks is the ultimate downfall of humanity. Addressing her as Dolores Lune Quo Vadis, he reminds her of her own grim ancestral legacy. He notes that she is the direct descendant of the disciple who survived solely by denying God 3 times. Dolores remains quiet as Winston asks why someone of her lineage would bother protecting humans, given how low they are capable of sinking. Despite his provocations, Dolores shouts back in defiance. She claims that even in the depths of despair, humans possess the capacity to believe they can choose a righteous path forward. Winston scoffs at her, questioning the utility of such baseless faith. He gestures toward the unconscious Professor Sadie, asking if Dolores truly believes the woman who sabotaged the academy and attacked him was choosing the best path. Dolores falls into a stunned silence, turning away as Winston continues his sadistic trial. Utilizing dark sorcery, Winston levitates a battered man high into the air. The man has been horribly mutated, with azure crystals piercing through his flesh. Winston asks for her opinion on this criminal. Winston then slams the man down onto the stone floor, fracturing the earth. Horrified, Dolores covers her mouth as Winston asks if she still maintains that this sinner can walk a path of redemption. As the dust begins to settle, the mangled man struggles to his knees. He possesses brown hair, a goatee, and crystalline growths covering his skin. Looking at his features, Dolores stammers in absolute disbelief, recognizing the monster as her own biological father.